All right, well, I guess I'll start introducing myself. My name is Kyle Fenke, and I'm going into senior year at Lawrence Tech. We are with Blue Devil Construction. Does everyone want to introduce themselves as well on the team? Okay, I guess not. Great.
Oh, sorry, you kind of cut out.
Well,
Sorry.
I was asking if you guys wanted to.
Oh, sure. I'm Jillian Newbert. I just graduated from Lawrence Tech, but here we are.
I think somebody might have their audio on so they can just mute. Make sure they're on mute.
Yeah,
Hey,
Josh, you're gonna have to mute until you
there you go.
talk. Sorry. Okay.
I'm Joe Kujasic. I will be graduating in December. I did the estimating portion.
My name's Joshua Dare. I am going into my sophomore year, and I did the safety portion.
Okay, great. So the purpose of our project management plan, we wanted to basically kind of gather everything, organize all our roles, our actions, and just kind of show our commitment to this project. We have plenty of experience working together, and we wanted to provide a quality product, making sure that we're on time and under budget, and of course meeting all of our LEED and site certifications. Kind of broke down our workflow here. I myself, Kyle Finnerty, is a project manager, Joseph being our superintendent and estimator. Josh is our project engineer, though he'll be presenting our safety plan. Our safety coordinator is Kim Gambit, and Jillian, our quality control manager. In order to meet our minimum of 5% for the self-perform, decided that we would be self-performing the structural steel. We have a long history of performing structural steel. This way, it will definitely limit the cost. As a construction manager, we won't have to upcharge any of the subcontractors for that. It'll just be our standard subcontracting costs. Our foreman and the superintendent have great working relationships. We'll also be able to fast track any of our paperwork, RFIs, bulletins, change orders, because everything will be in-house for us. And of course, we'll be able to ensure the enforcement of the schedule as well. As far as our pre-construction goes, I know that the schedule allows that we have 3 weeks for reviewing any of our subcontracting submittals. We require that our subcontractors will have a minimum of 14 days prior to being on site to get all of their submittals to us. We have allowed for plenty of bathrooms for all the project personnel, both men and women. We also have dedicated parking areas on site, but we know that with it being downtown, some of the we might not have enough parking space if we get up too many people on site. So we all do have a contingency in our proposal that will allow for, if we need to develop a partnership with the local parking structure, that we will be paying for that to allow any of our subcontractors to have free parking for their people on site. The site utilization plan will be following after this slide. And we also are pledging that we will meet any of our women and minority-owned business enterprises. We'll provide any proper solicitation that we need. But of course, we want to make sure that it makes business sense for the owner. We don't want to just contract any MBE or WBE for just the fact of doing so. We want to make sure that we're still, cutting costs as much as possible, as still maintaining our requirements for that. Here is our site utilization plan. As you can see, there's plenty of hoisting area around the building for all of our structural steel, any of our glazing, our precast, exterior panels, plenty of material and equipment storage areas, temporary facilities, parking lots to the left as well. And that leads to Jillian.
For our quality control policy, we plan to do a plan, do, check, act cycle that we maintain throughout construction. This cycle allows for continuous improvement throughout the project, and obviously this requires participation of all the members of our team. And our inspections will be done in 3 phases with preparatory inspections, initial inspections, and follow-up inspections. You can go to the next slide. So as far as our team members go, we'll be using our own safety manager of Kim Gamet. She's been safety manager here in ABC Southeastern Michigan for many years. As Kyle mentioned earlier, Joe will be our superintendent, and we'll also be using our own commissioning coordination representative, Steve Sattler, who's also been a part of ABC for, I think, the last 5 years. And then we'll be hiring a third-party waste manager in order to maintain our sites and LEED certification to make sure all our waste is properly disposed of, as well as a third-party quality control manager as per the spec. And also for all the groundwork, the Terracon geotechnical engineer will be on site as recommended in the geotechnical report. As far as testing standards and methods go, the preparatory phase will be, the quality control manager and BDC will be responsible for completing the preparatory phase checklist that's outlined in the spec, as well as the initial phase. The quality control manager will be responsible for implementing all testing methods recommended by ASTM, as well as any appropriate lab testing. Also, the quality control manager will be responsible for submitting daily construction reports, which we will use to compile a weekly construction report to provide at weekly progress meetings. And then for the warranty management, we will be responsible for any warranties for the first year after completion. After that year completion, the owner will be responsible for contacting any subcontractors. We will provide a contact list for those subcontractors at the completion of the project, and we'll update those contacts after the 1-year liability period is over.
All right, so for the site-specific safety plan, the Blue Devils construction safety program will be followed at all times. The copy will always be kept on site. The Blue Devil construction site superintendent will hold a daily safety huddle to go over the activities going on each day and the potential safety risks. Furthermore, proper PPE will be worn on site at all times. Also, we'll be following OSHA standards for lockout, tagging out all hazards struck by an emergency action plan and accident investigations. Next slide. Next slide. All right. Do not enter areas other than the phase under construction unless approved by BDC superintendent are in place. The job safety board will be kept on site with the following postings: OSHA poster, emergency contact numbers, right to work documentation, pre-task plans, the emergency evacuation plan, the number of days without injury tracker. Pre-phase planning, training, tool, and equipment inspection, etc. are in place. In addition to this, we have added precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19, including social distancing, requirements of masks, hand sanitizing, and more. Also, to add to this, upon doing our project, we had to determine whether the correct OSHA to use was Tennessee OSHA or OSHA, and because it's a federal building, we were able to determine that the correct one would be OSHA.
So just continuing off of the safety plan here, I know the emergency action plan was listed in the project management plan, but I just thought that it fit a little bit better under safety standards. So we'll definitely make sure that there are multiple copies of the emergency action plan on site. Our superintendent, our project manager, all project personnel will have a copy of it, as well as any foreman for any of our subcontractors. We want to make sure everybody is safe as possible. Leading into the schedule then, I know that this is kind of a tricky situation, given that we've had multiple delays so far. So I've kind of given it our milestones as number of days from a start date rather than giving hard dates, because we don't really know when we're going to be able to start construction yet. I know a lot of things are still uncertain with COVID-19. So our final AHJ inspection and commissioning will be 1,225 days after we get receive an award. And then, as you can see, multiple other milestones given in a number of days as well. Joe?
Hello. So yeah, I was in control of the estimate. The way that we went about this, we had a rep from ABC print off drawings full set. After that, I used PlanSwift also. I am well versed in that due to work, so I've been pretty efficient in PlanSwift. We chose to do the structural steel as our self-perform because we knew it was going to be a big chunk of the project, and previously I've been pretty skilled at taking that off. So the way we went about that, I found the linear foot of every single beam that is in this project. I got the tonnage of everything. I found out all the connections, got a tonnage of every little piece steel that we need on the project, got the estimate off that. Everything that you see here was a very in-depth estimate, everything down to the quantity. We put a lot of time into this estimate, and we think that we came up with pretty accurate numbers. Nothing was really just thrown off the top of our head. We did have help from a few subcontractors. They just helped us walk through everything. But if you guys have any questions, we can answer.
Well, I guess before questions, we can kind of get into a little bit of a breakdown here. Here, we wanted to show our quantities of the different beams, columns, and deckings in our structural steel. As you can see, it reaches just about a little over 10% of the total bid. Also wanted to show the precast and the glazing because we are doing the shell of the project. So we have about 80,000 square feet in our precast panels at about $6 million. And then, excuse me, about 6,000 square feet of glazing just under $1 million. And then, Joe, do you want to talk about our general conditions as well?
Yeah. So the format that you guys gave us was very helpful to go off of. We pinned down the project team down to the superintendent, everybody that was involved in the project. We had different wavelengths for everybody that worked on the project. For instance, the estimator, we only did obviously the part where they estimated. So we calculated the price of the salary that we'd be paying them throughout the 40 months of the project. All the equipment that we used, we had help just kind of pinpointing exactly what equipment for how long in each stage of the process. Job trailers, like Kyle said, the portable bathrooms, we knew that there was a standard of 10 each. For every 10 employees, there needs to be one porter john on site. So we got all that. The temporary utilities that are going to go on site, generators, everything that is going to go into the project, we are confident that we got in the general conditions. Came out to a number here, $6,861,512.
And then as far as the estimate as well, I know that in our proposal, we also included an alternate for a fire suppression pump for the stairwells. Yeah, that came in at just about $158,000. So our original total for the estimate, I can go back a couple slides here so we can all see it, was at $90,657,800. And then including that alternate as well comes to $90,815,800.
Yeah. We added the fire suppression alternate because we didn't see one in the plan, and we felt that it would be sufficient to put it in with all life safety plan, and we just thought that it needed it.
Correct. So I guess that'll segue us into any questions.
All right. Well, great job there, guys. You took away my first question, actually. It was going to be about the fire pump alternate and why you guys had it listed there. So we'll move on to the next question, and then we'll kind of roll through some round robin with the judges. I'll lead off with one. We'll go to Daniel Shirkey, and then Amanda and her team there in Nashville. And then, so looking at one of the first ones I had for you was, we didn't see any federal experience outlined in your proposal package. Can you guys elaborate or provide any kind of background on some federal experience that you guys have, or even experience in courtroom construction, any previous projects you might have done?
Yeah, I can take the lead on that. I know that honestly we don't have any federal experience. A lot of our experience comes from different schools for the state. We haven't done any specific courtrooms. We've done a lot of schools and medical facilities. Just we want to get into the courtroom. We want to get into the federal industry because I know that it's about to really take off here. So got to start somewhere, right?
All right, thanks for that. Daniel, did you have any questions?
Yeah, thanks for showing your site logistics plan. Could you go over what type of crane you're using and how many?
Yeah, I can go back to the site utilization plan here. Josh, do you want to take the crane?
Yeah, I can. So I think according to what we were looking at initially, it was probably 3, I think was the original estimate. And that's about, from my understanding, how far we're going with that specifically. How do you discuss that?
Okay, and then can you walk through what type of work location we'd have for either us or yourself during construction, like offices?
I can take that. So in the parking lot, right to the right, you see the blue dots on the plan. That's temporary facilities. We marked out for 2 10 by 30 trailers. We thought that would be sufficient. And as far as the tower cranes go, we were planning on using tower cranes. We know it's in downtown Nashville, so it's not. We don't have the most room. We have pretty good amount of room, but I've seen tower cranes be used on bigger areas. We do have 2 elevator shafts that we can utilize. So that was a idea that we were going to do.
Okay, and then I guess following up on that question with the elevator shafts, did you account for it in your schedule, just the impact the crane would have on that activity?
Yeah, we did. I did take that into consideration. I know that we do have the milestones marked out in the schedule, the Gantt chart for when the elevators will be ready for use, at least the shafts themselves. I know that before the elevators are before we start the installation of the actual elevator, we'll utilize the shaft as itself and kind of put a little bit of a hoist in there on a pulley system so that we can get material up and down as needed before we start the construction of the elevators itself.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got, Tommy.
Thank you.
Awesome. Amanda?
I got one question while you've got the site you plan up right now. It looks like you only have one point of entry and exit. How do you intend to manage the flow of construction when you have semis and flatbeds coming through? If they're all coming in and out, are they coming in and then reversing back out the same entry point? Or how are you going to manage that with also dump trucks and porta-john trucks coming into your site?
Well, I know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that was the trickiest part about this project, because to the left of the site plan is just a slim street. So we knew that semis were going to have a hard time getting through there with how busy downtown is. The exit and entrance, it's a fairly big area. As you can see, those little blue dots, that's like a 10 by 30 trailer, which is a good size. And the material storage, it's not perhaps covered, so it is just an open area. We don't plan on using the full material storage. We just put a lot more than we know we would need. And equipment storage, obviously that's not going to be all utilized during the day when trucks are going to be coming in and out. So we are going to have a lot more area than that. We believe that it'll be enough for people to make their way in and out.
Well, and just kind of going off of that, I know that we have talked before, we plan to have all of our foremen run deliveries by the superintendent and or project manager so that we can schedule when our deliveries are going to be there, so we don't have multiple trucks trying to come in at the same time. You know, because then at that point, we're going to back up traffic on the road, and that's not something that we want to do downtown. We want to make sure that we only have one delivery at a time, and we'll definitely be paying attention to our deliveries so that we don't, you know, cause any effect outside of our construction site.
I've got one more question too. So right now, with all the protests going on across the country and riots, this being a courthouse is somewhat of a target. How can you guys help make sure the site is secure when you leave every night to make sure it doesn't get damaged by protesters?
So we're always going to have the last man on site. Superintendent until, like, the superintendent will be there until the very last man is off site. We did include the fences that are 8 feet tall. So obviously you can't for sure block everybody out, but we believe that with the 8-foot fence, it'll be sufficient. And again, all barricades, there's only going to be one point of access with the gate, and we will hold high standards to have the superintendent be the last man on site every day and lock the fence.
Hey guys, Joanna. A question about the estimate breakdown. It looks like the bond rate is roughly 10%. That's exceptionally higher than what we're used to seeing. Typically it's around 1%. So just curious if that's a function of past performance, or if you guys can maybe explain that value, since it's almost the same value as your general conditions.
Yeah, that's just based on what we've done before. We know it is a bigger project, but that's just what we are used to. We've seen, yeah.
Yeah, sorry I didn't cut you off. I know we're running short of time. So I have one other question for you. So with a $90 million project, right now you just have a handful of folks listed as a staff. So what do you see as your peak management staff, since you guys are performing or self-performing steel?
So I was listed as a superintendent. Everything, of course, I would plan to be on site all the time. All of our workers will be going directly to me, and we'll try to organize everything as smoothly as we can.
Well, I know that before, when we were working on this project, we had a handful of people originally when we were compiling our proposal. And with all of the issues going on with COVID-19, we've kind of lost a couple along the way. So I know that we do have a couple spots that do need to be filled, and we are actively searching for people to fill those spots. If we do need to reach out and contract some employees in order to help out with whether it's paperwork, document control, or if it's laborers on site to keep the site clean, or if Joe decides that he needs an assistant, those are definitely things that we will, you know, look into with the time, when the time comes, and if we deem it necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Hey guys, I got a separate question. Going back to your site U plan, talking about the crane. You said you selected a tower crane with the big floor plate that we have here. How many jumps do you guys have with that tower crane?
Sorry, I didn't hear that question. Could you repeat that?
So the floor plate of the building's pretty large. So how many jumps do you guys have planned with your tower cranes to erect the structural steel?
So we were planning, since we did have a shaft on pretty much both sides of the building, we were planning to maybe take it down and then put it back up on the other side. We know that it would be not the safest to extend it past OSHA regulation. But the fact that we did have more than one elevator shaft would benefit us in that.
Okay, and then just looking at your hoisting area, you're showing the whole kind of the whole, everything but the south side of the building. How do you all plan to erect the south penthouse and the little south wing of the building? It's not shown on your hoisting area.
Well, I think that it's really important is that when you're on a project this big, you have to be able to be flexible. So obviously, once we get our northeast and west portions of the project, of the, the exterior, the steel and everything up, we'll be able to move our storage and our equipment around in order to get a crane in there. I think that it was kind of hard to show that in itself, especially with like the south portion of the lot, not being as large compared to the proposed building. So we didn't really want to, plan on putting anything where the building was going to be. So yeah, like I said, we'll definitely be flexible with moving our material and our equipment around. We can move a trailer if it's necessary in order to get the crane there to take care of our exterior panels and our structural steel, our glazing, whatever we need.
Okay, thank you.
We have time for one more.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got time
So
for, I'd say, probably one or two more questions.
Okay, I got a question on your estimate. First off, your estimate looks really good. It looks like you guys put a lot of time into it.
Yep.
The question is on your tower crane. So in your estimate, you have 5 months of a tower crane. But when I look at your schedule, you've got about 6 kind of plus months of crane activity. So you have a delta there of a month. How do you guys plan to cover the cost of that crane for that extra month?
We did plan 5 months for the crane. I threw extra money in the crane for the extra month, and also for disassembling it, and like we talked about before, reassembling it in a different position if we had to do that. I also had thought about that for the contingency if we actually had to increase the cost. But since we are a steel contractor, we have access to the cranes, so it wouldn't be as big of a stab as if we had to go through hoops to get the crane.
So you would cover that cost, but you don't look to the owner to cover that cost.
Yeah, we have it covered.
Hey, so this being such a big structural steel job and you guys self-performing the steel, what's your crew breakdown between erection and back welding to make sure that the steel gets done per your schedule? It seems like there's a very small gap between the north half steel finishing and the south half. I'm seeing like 13 days.
I think we definitely want to make this is going to be a priority project for us. Obviously, we'll have others going on, but our team's 100% dedicated to this, and we're going to be able to put as many guys on this as we need to. So I think ideally what we want to do is once we get our first crews going on the north end of it, we want to bring in a second wave of crews in order to get the south going, so that we're limiting our time spent on the structural steel, and we can start putting exterior panels up as quickly as possible. We can start putting our glazing, our doors and everything in to get the building sealed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll wrap up with one final question for you. Has to do with your schedule. Your logic on your concrete looks really good, but getting into your drying dates and the precast and the glazing erection sequencing, it looks like there's a pretty big gap between the dry-in and the precast, the completion of precast and glazing. I should switch that around. You got your precast and glazing completing, and then a couple months later you have your dry-in for each of the wings. Can you elaborate on why there's such a big gap, and if you think there's potential to pull that dry-in date back and maybe save some time in your schedule?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of time to save in there. I just wanted to make sure that we had plenty of time by contract in the schedule in order to get our interior contractors in there and kind of just dealing with the headaches that come from going from your exterior work to your interior work. So yeah, absolutely. That's something that can happen sooner. I just wanted to make sure that's more of like a worst scenario kind of schedule there.
Okay, well, thanks for that. So with that, we are right at time. So I want to thank all of you all, the whole judging panel. We're real appreciative of your guys' efforts. We definitely recognize the challenges that everyone faced here in the spring, trying to put the proposal together, the changes to the competition format, and then obviously, you know, doing these presentations over your summer break, or even right after you graduated. So kudos to all of you for coming back and taking the time and seeing this through. We'll look forward to seeing you this afternoon. Hopefully you can join us for the debrief. Amanda and her team are going to do a good job giving us a kind of a deep dive into the project and the challenges that they faced. And we'll give you guys the chance to ask us some questions for a change and see how the experience went for us. So, but thanks again, and we'll see you later.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Great
you.
job, guys.
Nice job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.